Okay, let's move on. Next up, take me down to the Raccoon City where the herbs are green and the girls are either undead abominations or members of stars. There's no good way to transition out of that. That's right, folks. Last week, Netflix announced they're making a Resident Evil TV series. Former Supernatural writer and showrunner Andrew Dabb is spearheading the series, which promises a mixture of familiar faces and new surprises. Now, the show will take place across two timelines, one following the 14-year-old Wesker sisters, Jade and Billy, as they move to New Raccoon City. The other takes place a decade in the future, where fewer than 15 million people remain on Earth, 6 billion T-virus-infected monsters roam the planet, and Jade struggles to survive in the new world while secrets from her past continue to haunt her. Spooky. Okay, so obviously there's been so many Resident Evil movies, but this is a Resident Evil TV series. So what are you hoping to see from a show like this? Trisha, let's start with you.
I'm really excited that they're doing two timelines because for me, in any kind of post-apocalyptic world, I think that probably most people want to see what life in the post-apocalyptic future looks like. So we're getting that with the one timeline. But for me, like I watched The Matrix and I love the Matrix, but I'm real interested in the Animatrix. I want to know how we got from where we are now to what that looks like. So again, I love that they're doing the two timelines because I feel like we'll have this really fascinating and compelling mystery of how we're getting there and watching all the pieces fall into place while still getting the Resident Evil that we all know and love from the games. I'm super hopeful. I know not a lot of video game to screen adaptations have been very successful. I always like to say, but what about Witcher? Oh yeah, but that was based on the books. So it would be really nice if we can get there. I mean, Andrew Dabb coming to us from Supernatural, that's a promising sign. Supernatural is amazing and ran for bajillion seasons. I feel like no one can ever finish a binge watch of that in any reasonable amount of time because there's just too much there. However, Supernatural is a little more campy in feel, and I think I want this to feel more realistic and darker. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because is this going to succumb to the video game curse? Like I did a piece back in the day talking about why video game movies always suck, or it feels like they suck, and that's because, at least in my estimation, it's because you are taking a very active form of entertainment, a video game. Like a game like Resident Evil, compared to a horror movie, works very differently. In Resident Evil, you are the one who must open the door to predicate the jump scare. And if you never press X, you're never going to get scared. Like the thrills and chills will not happen unless you make them happen. Whereas in a horror movie, after 2 hours or so, it's done. You do not have, all you have to do is sit down and press play, or just sit down and keep your eyes open, and it will continue to unfold in real time. So it's how do you take that that brand of like very active entertainment that places a great deal of agency on the audience and adapt that to the small screen. And thankfully, I think because Resident Evil is in the horror genre, the survival horror genre, that's something that translates very well to big and small screens. But I'm curious how they're going to maintain the very goofy spirit of a extremely convoluted series like Resident Evil, which is equal parts thrills and other parts like, what the hell did that mean? The Master of Unlocking? What are you talking about? Wendy, I'm curious, what do you think about this series? Do you think they can beat the video game curse?
Oh gosh, I sure hope so. I do love Resident Evil, although every time I played it, it's just like, it takes a long time for me because jump scares in horror movies, I am fine with. Jump scares in video games, because just like you said, you're the one that have to open the door. And sometimes just like, I don't know if I can find out. I don't know if I can do it. And then once I'm scared, I play badly. So which means that in like a zombie apocalypse or something like that, I most like would not survive because I would be like, I don't know what to do. Do I press X or what do I press? Wrong button. But with the fact that they are turning it into a series and not another movie, actually is kind of exciting, because I think for a video game title like Resident Evil, there's just so much to cover. And I think that's hard to do in a single video game movie. And that's why there's probably been so many like Resident Evils that you just keep trying. And this one is really interesting to me because we're seeing Jade and Billy Wesker, which kind of gives me hope that maybe we'll see Albert Wesker.
Yeah,
so,
we have. I was going to say, we have Summers in the chat saying they hope they do Albert Wesker right. I don't know who should play him. Hiddleston ? So who would you want to see as Albert Wesker?
I will watch Hiddleston in anything. I mean, but also I'm kind of on an Oscar Isaac kick, so I will put his name in the hat as well. I would love to watch him play like a younger version of Albert, and then when we jump the timeline, we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see then maybe flashbacks of Albert. So I don't think we'll see super old Albert, but you never know.
No, I want to see old ass Oscar Isaac in like crazy old age makeup playing Albert Wesker. You've sold me on this. But Kyle, what do you think about this with the multiple timelines and the obvious hurdle of adapting a video game franchise into a coherent TV series? Do you think that's something they can overcome?
I think that there's definitely they're setting themselves up, I think, for an interesting time of it, I guess. Like there's a chance with the multiple timelines it could be kind of like Westworld, and kind of like we're not really sure what's going on. The trap that they don't want to fall into is they don't want it to just become plotting like The Walking Dead became after a while, and then they also don't want it to just be like, I mean, the movies after a while, I love them for what they are, but like that's some crazy stuff. So you have to really thread the needle between being too realistic, which is not like the games, and too over the top like the movies are. So I feel like they're making themselves kind of, giving themselves the best opportunity, but also like setting themselves up for like major problems too, because if one timeline isn't working in your story, that's you can't just switch focus if
Yeah, you know what, we're done with that up. Bring me back to the horrible future.
Yeah.
I'm curious as well, with things like Resident Evil, Castlevania, there's been a big uptick in video games getting turned into TV shows. What video game series that doesn't currently have one do you think deserves a TV series or could excel in that format? Kyle, yes.
It's a game that has been very much on my mind lately, but Control, I think, is the best, like has so much lore to it that you could do like 4 seasons of the game and it would be like the most interesting show of all time. And you've already cast those people because they're real people, motion capture and everything like that. So you could just cast those people in the game or in the show, and like that's half the work done.
Yeah, I think especially with the kind of like mind-bending sci-fi and just there's just something that would translate very well to the screen with all that brutalist architecture that just feels dark and imposing.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be a smash hit. I'm surprised maybe they are making one. It feels like an announcement I would have read already, but if not, hey, I think that's a winning idea right there. But Wendy, what do you think?
I am going to put Legend of Zelda out there. I feel like we need it. And also, kind of in the same realm, Fable would be a fun one as well.
Ooh. Yeah, I think like a nice like fantasy series with a like good sense of heart and humor would be a nice piece of counter programming to the kind of dark and gritty stuff that we've gotten from the Game of Thrones era. But with Legend of Zelda, would you want that to be live action or animated?
I struggle with this because I would very much love to see like a live action, but I also know how sometimes it just wouldn't transfer over well. So for me, I love animation. I think there's tons of things you can do with animation. So I would not mind seeing an animated series for Legend of Zelda.
If they do an animated series and never let Link talk, I will watch that day one. Just let him do his like hops and everything that he's going to do when he's rolling around and all that fun stuff. I don't know. Trisha, what do you think?
Well, first of all, if we do a Legend of Zelda animated, they need to sneak in an excuse me, princess.
Just one.
But for my game choice to be made into a TV show, I want to double, triple, and quadruple down on the Remedy Games connected universe. So Alan Wake and Control being that whole connected universe being made into a television series that has like it's horror with a dash of X-Files and conspiracy theories. And it would be, there's so much to delve into outside of just Alan Wake's story that we know from Bright Falls and Jesse Faden's story that we know from Control, and just tackling other altered world events. And they could potentially tie in real conspiracy theories or AWEs that have happened in the world and how those are handled by the Federal Bureau of Control. I'm into all of it. Sign me up. Get me my popcorn. Yes, please.